My dear child, before this moment passes, do not turn away. There is something waiting for you that was never meant to stay hidden forever. A letter has finally found its way to you after carrying the weight of countless sleepless nights, silent tears, and words that were never spoken aloud. Every sentence inside it was written with a trembling heart, and every page carries a truth that has waited far too long to be revealed. Listen carefully. There are moments in life when silence becomes louder than any voice, when distance hurts more than goodbye itself, and when a single handwritten letter can change everything a person believed about love. Today is one of those moments. Long before this letter reached your hands, your soulmate had already written it many times in their heart. They started over again and again because every version felt incomplete. Every page became stained with tears before it could ever be folded. They wanted to tell you everything years ago, but fear kept stopping them. Fear convinced them that they had already lost you. Fear whispered that you would never believe the truth if it arrived too late. Yet the heart refused to surrender, and that is why this final letter exists. Don't skip. Imagine your soulmate sitting alone in a quiet room long after everyone else had gone to sleep. The lights were dim. The world outside had become completely silent. Only the ticking of a clock reminded them that time continued moving forward while their heart remained trapped in the past. In front of them rested a blank sheet of paper. For several minutes they could not even write your name because the moment they thought of you, tears filled their eyes. They remembered the dreams that once felt possible, the conversations that never happened, and the promises that lived only inside their imagination. They realized that pretending to be strong had become impossible. Hiding the truth had become even more painful than revealing it. So they picked up the pen with shaking hands and finally allowed their heart to speak. The first sentence they wrote was not about themselves. It was about you. They admitted that no matter how much time had passed, no matter how many people entered or left their life, your memory never stopped following them. Every sunrise reminded them of hope they had almost forgotten. Every sunset reminded them of another day that ended without hearing your voice. They confessed that they had spent countless nights wondering whether you were happy, whether someone had been kind to you, whether you still believed in love after everything that happened. Those questions became their silent companions, questions that nobody around them ever knew existed. As the letter continued, the words became heavier. They admitted there were moments when they almost gave up completely. Not because they stopped loving you, but because they believed they no longer deserved the chance to explain themselves. They carried regrets that grew larger with every passing season. They replayed old memories repeatedly, searching for the exact moment everything changed. Was it one misunderstanding? One lie told by someone else? One decision made out of fear? They still did not know. All they knew was that every path they walked somehow led back to thoughts of you. Don't skip. The pages revealed something even more heartbreaking. Your soulmate confessed that they had secretly kept reminders of you hidden where nobody could ever find them. A folded note. An old photograph. a tiny keepsake that looked meaningless to everyone else but carried an entire lifetime of emotions. Whenever life became unbearable, they would quietly take those memories out, hold them close, and wonder if destiny had truly separated two hearts forever, or if this painful chapter was only preparing them for another beginning. What made this letter different from every other unsent letter was one sentence written near the center of the page. It simply said, "If this reaches you, it means I finally found the courage I should have had a long time ago." Those words carried years of regret inside them. They were not asking for instant forgiveness. They were not demanding another chance. They were only asking for one thing: to let the truth be heard before it disappeared forever. The ink on that page suddenly changed. It became darker because fresh tears had fallen while those words were written. Even without hearing their voice, anyone reading the letter could almost feel the pain behind every sentence. It was the pain of someone who realized that silence had stolen precious years that could never be returned. It was the pain of watching life continue while their heart remained frozen in the exact place where they last believed in you. As the final paragraphs approached, your soulmate admitted there was another reason this letter had to be sent now. Someone unexpected had recently revealed a hidden truth about the past, something they had never known before. That single revelation shattered everything they thought they understood. Suddenly, old memories looked completely different. Conversations that once seemed meaningless now carried hidden meanings. Decisions they blamed on you suddenly pointed toward someone else's actions. For the first time, they began wondering if the story they believed for so many years had never been the real story at all. Their heartbeat grew faster as they reached the final page because they knew what they were about to write could change everything forever. The pen paused several times before finishing the last paragraph. They whispered your name one final time before writing the sentence they had feared most. "I have finally discovered who kept us apart. And I can no longer stay silent." At that exact moment, there was an unexpected knock at their door. The person standing outside was carrying something that neither of them had expected to see: a sealed envelope marked with your name, along with a hidden piece of evidence that could completely rewrite everything inside the heartbreaking letter. The sudden knock froze everything. Your soulmate carefully folded the unfinished letter and slipped it beneath the notebook on the table before slowly walking toward the door. Their hands were still trembling. They were not expecting anyone at such a late hour. When they opened the door, an older messenger stood silently in the hallway, holding a weathered envelope that looked as though it had traveled for years before finally reaching its destination. The stranger did not smile. Instead, they quietly said, "This should have been delivered a long time ago." Without waiting for another question, the messenger turned and disappeared into the darkness, leaving your soulmate staring at the envelope with a heartbeat that refused to slow down. Don't skip. The envelope looked different from any ordinary letter. Its edges were worn, the paper slightly faded, and across the front was your name written in handwriting your soulmate immediately recognized. It was the handwriting of someone whose words had influenced nearly every painful decision made in the past. For a long moment they could not bring themselves to open it. They feared what they might discover. What if every painful memory had been built on a lie? What if someone had intentionally hidden the truth for years? Taking a deep breath, they finally broke the seal. Inside was a handwritten confession. Every sentence felt heavier than the one before it. The writer admitted that years earlier they had interfered because they believed separating two hearts was the right decision. They convinced themselves they were protecting everyone involved, but instead they created years of loneliness, regret, and unanswered questions. The confession explained how messages had been hidden, conversations interrupted, and misunderstandings allowed to grow until silence became stronger than love itself. Reading those words made your soulmate's knees weaken. They slowly sat back down, unable to believe that the answers they had searched for were suddenly resting in their hands. As each paragraph unfolded, forgotten memories returned with startling clarity. They remembered the day they waited for a reply that never came. They remembered hearing rumors that shattered their confidence. They remembered walking away while believing you had chosen a different future. Now every one of those memories was being rewritten by a truth they never expected to uncover. Tears quietly rolled down their face, not because they wanted sympathy, but because they finally understood how much precious time had been stolen from both of you. Don't skip. They unfolded the heartbreaking letter they had just written to you and began reading it again from the beginning. This time every sentence carried an even deeper meaning. What they thought was only an apology had now become something much greater. It had become proof that the truth always finds its way into the light, no matter how many years pass. They picked up their pen once more and added several new lines beneath the final paragraph. If you are reading this, then you deserve to know everything. I was told stories that made me believe you had forgotten me. I accepted those stories because I was afraid to ask questions. I should have searched for the truth instead of believing the silence. If my absence caused you pain, please know that I have carried the same pain every single day. They paused once again, staring at those words until the ink dried. For the first time in years, they felt something unfamiliar returning to their heart. It was not certainty. It was not confidence. It was hope. Small, fragile hope that perhaps destiny had not completely closed the final chapter after all. Outside, dawn was beginning to break. The first rays of sunlight slipped through the window and rested across the table where both letters lay side by side. One letter contained the apology your soulmate had waited years to write. The other contained the confession that exposed the hidden truth behind your separation. Looking at both together, they realized something extraordinary. Neither letter alone could tell the full story. Only together did they reveal what had really happened. Your soulmate carefully placed both letters into a new envelope addressed to you. They sealed it with trembling hands, whispered a quiet prayer that it would finally reach you, and prepared to leave immediately. They knew there could be no more waiting. Every extra day spent in silence would only deepen the regret they already carried. Just as they stepped outside, their phone suddenly rang. The call came from someone whose voice they had not heard in years. After a long silence, the caller spoke only one sentence. "Don't send that letter yet. There's one truth you still don't know." Your soulmate stopped walking. Their hand tightened around the envelope. A cold feeling rushed through them as they realized the story was not over. The greatest secret of all had not yet been revealed, and the next truth had the power to change everything they had just discovered. Your soulmate stood completely still, the envelope pressed tightly against their chest as the mysterious voice on the phone repeated those chilling words one final time. "There is one truth you still don't know. And if you send that letter now, you may lose them forever." For several long seconds, neither of them spoke. The morning air felt unusually cold, and even the birds that had just begun singing seemed to disappear into silence. Your soulmate's heart pounded so loudly they could barely hear themselves breathe. Every instinct told them to ignore the warning and mail the letter immediately, yet something about the caller's voice carried a painful sincerity that could not be dismissed. "Don't skip." Finally, your soulmate whispered, "Who are you? And what truth could possibly be left after everything I've just learned?" The caller let out a slow, emotional sigh before answering. "I was there the day everything fell apart." Those words struck harder than anything else they had heard that night. Your soulmate leaned against the nearby wall, struggling to remain steady. Their entire body felt weak. The memories they had spent years trying to bury suddenly came rushing back, the unanswered messages, the unexplained silence, the painful goodbye that never truly made sense. Until this moment they believed they had finally uncovered the complete story. Now they realized they had only uncovered part of it. The caller continued speaking. "You've spent years blaming the wrong people." "Yes." "Someone kept the truth hidden." "Yes." "Someone interfered." "But there was another person working quietly behind the scenes. Someone whose name has never been mentioned." Your soulmate closed their eyes. Another person? Another secret? How many lives had been changed by a single hidden decision? Their breathing became uneven as the caller explained that years ago a private letter addressed to you had never reached its destination. It had disappeared before anyone could read it. Everyone assumed it had been lost forever. But it had not been lost. It had been taken. Don't skip. Your soulmate felt the blood drain from their face. They remembered writing that letter with complete honesty. Inside were the words they had never been brave enough to speak face to face. It contained every apology, every confession, every promise they hoped would heal the distance between your hearts. If that letter had reached you, would everything have been different? Would years of loneliness have been avoided? Would two hearts have found each other before life carried them in separate directions? The questions became almost unbearable. The caller quietly revealed that someone had hidden the letter because they believed the relationship would create conflict within the family. Instead of allowing the truth to reach you, they quietly removed it and let everyone believe silence had been the answer. For years, no one confessed. No one admitted what they had done. Until now. Your soulmate lowered their head as tears slipped silently onto the envelope. For the first time in years, they stopped making excuses for the past. They accepted that fear had stolen precious time, but they also understood something equally important. The future had not been written yet. Don't skip. Determined to uncover every remaining truth, your soulmate asked the caller one final question. Who took the letter? The line became completely silent. Several seconds passed. Then the caller answered with words your soulmate never imagined they would hear. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't an enemy. It was someone inside your own family. Your soulmate's eyes filled with disbelief. Every memory suddenly felt different. Every family gathering. Every uncomfortable conversation. Every strange look. Every unexpected interruption. Small details they had ignored for years suddenly connected together like pieces of a forgotten puzzle. Someone close. Someone trusted. Someone who smiled while quietly protecting a devastating secret. Without saying another word, your soulmate ended the call and rushed back inside. They opened old drawers that had not been touched in years, searching through forgotten journals, faded photographs, unopened boxes, and dusty envelopes. Hours passed. Nothing. Then, hidden beneath an old wooden box wrapped in a yellow cloth, they discovered something that made their hands freeze. A small leather journal. Inside the front cover was a single handwritten sentence. If the truth is ever discovered, give this to them immediately. Your soulmate slowly turned the first page. The handwriting was instantly recognizable. Their heartbeat stopped. Because the person who had written every page was the very family member they trusted more than anyone else. And the first confession inside the journal began with 6 unforgettable words. I destroyed your happiness to protect mine. Your soulmate stared at the first page of the leather journal for what felt like an eternity. Their hands were shaking so badly that they could barely hold it open. The words written in fading ink seemed impossible to accept. I destroyed your happiness to protect mine. The room became unbearably quiet. Every sound disappeared except the pounding of their own heart. For years they had searched outside their family for answers. They had questioned strangers, blamed circumstances, and even blamed themselves. Never once had they imagined that the greatest betrayal had been living under the same roof, sharing the same table, offering comforting smiles while quietly hiding the truth. Don't skip. With trembling fingers, your soulmate turned the next page. The confession continued. I saw how deeply you loved them. I knew that if the truth reached both of you, nothing would ever separate your hearts. I was afraid that our family would lose control over the future we had already planned. So I convinced myself that destroying one relationship would protect everyone else. I believed time would erase your feelings. I believed you would eventually forget each other. I was wrong. Each sentence felt heavier than the last. The journal described every hidden decision in painful detail. Messages had been intercepted before they could be delivered. Phone calls had been quietly ignored. Invitations had disappeared without explanation. False stories had been repeated until they sounded believable. Every small lie became another brick in the invisible wall built between two hearts that had never truly stopped searching for one another. Your soulmate could hardly breathe. Suddenly, so many confusing moments from the past finally made sense. The strange excuses. The unexplained silence. The unexpected distance that had appeared without warning. None of it had happened naturally. It had all been carefully orchestrated by someone who believed they were protecting the family, never realizing they were destroying two lives in the process. Don't skip. As they continued reading, tears fell freely onto the pages. The writer admitted something even more heartbreaking. There were many nights when I wanted to tell you the truth. I stood outside your room more times than you will ever know. I almost knocked on your door. I almost confessed everything. But every time fear stopped me. I was terrified that if you discovered what I had done, would lose your love forever. Your soulmate closed the journal for a moment and buried their face in their hands. Anger rose inside them, but it was quickly overtaken by grief. Years had been stolen. Birthdays had passed. Seasons had changed. Countless opportunities to reunite had vanished forever. None of those moments could ever be recovered. Yet one final section of the journal remained unread. Slowly, they opened to the last few pages. The handwriting had become weaker, as though the writer had been struggling to finish the confession. If you are reading this, then I may have finally found the courage I never had before. There is one last thing you must know. The person you believe walked away from you. Never stopped waiting. Every time they had a chance to move on, something inside them held them back. They never knew why. Now I understand. Their heart never truly left you. Your soulmate's tears fell even faster. For the first time in years, hope began to replace despair. Could it really be true? After everything that had happened. After all the silence. After all the lies. Could your heart still remember theirs? Don't skip. Tucked inside the back cover of the journal was a small folded photograph. Your soulmate carefully unfolded it. It was an old picture taken years ago. In the background, almost hidden from view, was someone holding a sealed white envelope. Your envelope. The very letter that had vanished without explanation.